You ask a chatbot a question, you stream a show on a Tuesday night, you back up photos to the cloud. None of that happens in some invisible digital nowhere. It happens inside a building. A real, physical, often enormous building, packed with humming machines, drinking electricity by the megawatt, and in a lot of cases drinking actual water too. These buildings are called data centers. There are thousands of them around the world, and right now more are being built, faster than almost any other type of building on Earth. So what's actually happening inside of them? What are they really doing in there? And why are they suddenly such a big deal? At the most basic level, a data center is exactly what it sounds like. A building full of computers. Not computers like the ones on your desk. Rows and rows of servers. Specialized computers designed to run constantly, store data and process requests, stacked into tall metal cabinets, lined up in big long aisles, sometimes stretching for what feels like city blocks. Every time you send an email, stream a video, save a file to the cloud, or ask AI a question, that travels, often thousands of miles, to a data center where a server processes it and sends the answer back to you, usually in a fraction of a second. These buildings are why the cloud works at all. There is no actual cloud. There's just somebody else's very large, very well-organized warehouse of computers, usually owned by a small handful of giant companies: Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Meta. A small data center might be the size of a large supermarket. A hyperscale data center, the kind built for the biggest cloud providers and AI companies, can cover hundreds of acres. Some of the newest ones being built right now are large enough to be clearly seen from space. Here's something most people never think about. All of that processing generates an enormous amount of heat. Every server, every chip, every processor running constantly is essentially a small heater. Multiply that by tens of thousands of servers running 24 hours a day and you get a building that desperately needs to be cooled, or the equipment inside of it will overheat and fail within hours. This is where things get surprising. A huge amount of what a data center actually does, physically, is fight against heat. Some facilities use industrial air conditioning, blasting cold air through the server aisles constantly. Others use something called evaporative cooling, passing hot air through water-filled cooling towers where the water evaporates and carries the heat away with it. That evaporative cooling method works well, but it uses a genuinely staggering amount of water. A single large hyperscale data center using this method can consume several million gallons of water a day, comparable to the water use of a small town. Researchers estimate that data centers in the United States now directly consume well over 17 billion gallons of water every year, just for cooling, and that figure is projected to climb sharply over the next few years as more AI-focused facilities come online. Some newer facilities are shifting toward different methods: sealed liquid cooling, or even submerging servers directly in a special non-conductive fluid, specifically to cut down on how much water they use. But across the industry as a whole, water consumption is still climbing fast. Cooling is only half the story. The other half is electricity, and the numbers here are even harder to wrap your head around. A typical old-style data center, the kind running cloud storage or streaming video, uses roughly as much electricity as 10,000 to 25,000 homes. That's already a small city's worth of power running inside a single building. But the newer hyperscale facilities being built specifically for AI can use as much electricity as 100,000 homes or more. Some of the largest individual AI data centers now being constructed are expected to draw more power than an entire major city. Globally, data centers consumed an estimated 460 terawatt hours of electricity in 2025. To put that in perspective, that's roughly comparable to the entire annual electricity use of a country like France. And this number isn't expected to plateau. Projections suggest global data center electricity demand could roughly double by 2028, driven almost entirely by the explosion in AI processing. AI workloads specifically already account for around a fifth of all data center electricity use. and that share is expected to keep climbing fast. This is why you might have noticed something a little unusual lately. In regions with high concentration of data centers, residential electricity prices have started rising noticeably faster than the national average. Sometimes dramatically faster, as utilities scramble to build new power infrastructure to keep up with demand. So why is all of this happening right now, and why so suddenly? The short answer is AI. Training and running large AI models requires an enormous number of specialized chips. GPUs, working together continuously, processing huge volumes of data at once. A single advanced GPU running at full capacity can draw a significant amount of power on its own. Now multiply that by the thousands of GPUs often required to train or run a major AI model simultaneously, and the power requirements stack up incredibly fast. Every major tech company is racing to build more of this AI infrastructure as quickly as possible, because falling behind in computing capacity means falling behind in AI capacity altogether. This has triggered what's genuinely one of the largest building booms in modern history. Hundreds of new data centers under construction across dozens of countries, almost all of them happening at once. The land footprint alone is enormous. Some of the newest data center campuses being built today cover hundreds of acres each. Land that's no longer available for farming, housing, or anything else. Across the world, the total land currently used for data centers has already grown to cover an area roughly equivalent to a major metropolitan region. This boom isn't without real winners and real costs, and they don't always land on the same people. For local governments, data centers can mean a genuine windfall. In some countries with heavy data center development, property tax revenue from these facilities has grown so large that it makes up a huge share of the entire local government budget. Sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars a year from data centers alone. But the trade-offs are real too. Despite the tax revenue, data centers don't actually create many ongoing jobs once construction finishes. These are highly automated facilities, often staffed by a surprisingly small number of people for their size. And in many communities, residents are increasingly pushing back. Public records show dozens of proposed data center projects have been delayed, blocked, or outright cancelled in the past year alone, often due to concerns of water use, electricity prices, noise, and strain on the local infrastructure. There's also a broader environmental question hanging over the entire industry. Even accounting for renewable energy commitments many tech companies have made, the sheer scale of new electricity and water demand is significant enough that researchers have started measuring it the same way they'd measure a small country's footprint, not a single industry's. So what do data centers actually do? At the simplest level, they store, process, and move the digital world around. Every email, every stream, every cloud backup, every AI response. All of it happening inside buildings full of servers, racks, and cables. But underneath that simple description is a physical, resource-hungry industrial system. Buildings that fight a constant battle against heat, consuming water by the millions of gallons. Electricity demand so large that individual buildings can outpace entire cities. Construction boom so fast that it's reshaping land use, local economies, and electricity prices in real time, almost everywhere it touches down. The cloud isn't really a cloud at all. It's concrete, steel, water pipes, power lines, and an almost unimaginable number of spinning fans working around the clock just so your message can send in under a second.